Okay guys, we got ourselves alternator. Let's take a look at the alternator here. This is a Remy brand. This is what it looked like. Toyota Corolla is about to get a new alternator. And part number here, they give me a lifetime warranty here. So if something goes wrong, they will cover it as long as the customer has the car. There's the part number on this baby. This is a 09 Toyota Corolla. 010 is the same. So to replace alternator, first thing first, disconnect your battery, positive or negative, doesn't matter, select one. But doing so, you're gonna lose the memory on the throttle body, so your car's gonna stall out. Once you're done, you're gonna be thinking, what the hell happened? There's a solution. You could relearn it or save the memory, okay? What I like to do is I'd like to not disconnect the battery. The reason why we disconnect the battery is because we're going to remove this terminal right here, this cable here. That cable is a live power positive straight from there to here. So if it touches somewhere, it's going to short circuit and blow the fuse. What I like to do is I like to tape it up, be precautious when I do that. So let's pop this open, this lid right here. It has grommets on it. You're going to hear things like that, but not a big deal. Over time these get stiff, so some WD-40 on these would be a good idea. So WD-40 on these right here, you know what, right now we'll do it so we don't forget. WD-40, 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 WD-40. That will make things easy once we install it back. So this is what it looked like when the engine is naked, totally different. So here's our alternator. The alternator has a bolt here and a bolt in the bottom, and it does have a little clip here to hold this harness. And it does has this little connector here. So to remove this connector, you squeeze this, and you gotta squeeze really hard and pull out this, okay? So all you're doing is squeezing this tab here and pull out this connector. That's how that baby's gonna come out. So here's our adjustment screw, make the belt tight and loose. What I like to do is WD-40 before you start. Okay, so that's that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn this bolt. Let's put some WD-40 here too. Sometime it'll get jammed here. And also let's remove this little guy. Okay, so all you have to do is pull on this, and this whole thing just comes off. You just held in by these little clips. Let's save that up there. 10 millimeter, 14, and a 12. So we do have a 12 here. So if you lose the routing on the belt, make sure you know how to do that. So we're gonna turn this counterclockwise. Look how easy that was. Bada bing, bada boom. But our tensioner is not gonna move unless we loosen that bolt up. We can loosen this all we want. Turn this baby as much as we want. But what we're gonna do is you're gonna get a deep socket to go down there, 14 there. You're gonna loosen that couple of threads and loosen this couple of threads. So I went and got me a deep socket. This is a 12 millimeter. Also got me a 14 millimeter here. And with the long ratchet, so we're gonna go counterclockwise. I do have off and on button here, so that's how my ratchet know. But turning it counterclockwise, if you're looking at it, this will be counterclockwise, this will be clockwise. So at the end of the video, I will show you all the tools that I use, so you can make a list of the things you need. But anyway, so we're gonna turn this baby counterclockwise. So put this onto that bolt right behind underneath this tensioner. And all you wanna do here is, if you got two hands, use two hands, so you have a better grip on that bolt. Sometimes that bolt wants to strip, like right now it wants to just move to one angle because of my ratchet. So I'm gonna just switch up my ratchet. I don't like the wobbly head there. Okay, so I got me a smaller ratchet. With one hand I couldn't hold it, so it's better if you put your hand in back of it. But let me see if I could get this, or I might just have to do it a bit off the leg. You go, I got it to come loose. So if you put your hand behind this ratchet here, that will hold the ratchet in place better for you. Because these bolts it's a tiny bolt, it has a small head, so it wants to just come off. So all you need to do is few turns and it should come loose. Okay, if you notice, our alternator is not gonna move back because the bottom bolt down there, the 14 millimeter right there, is what's keeping it from turning. So we're gonna loosen that baby also. So I took my deep socket, 14 millimeter right there, I got it on the bolt. And I had to line everything before the camera. So long ratchet, we're gonna yank it. There you go. It's gonna feel crappy, but once you lose few turns, just like that, you should be able to do this job on the work floor at home. But now this is all loose, and our alternator, you see that? the alternator is able to move back, and that's gonna release the belt there, okay? And but we do need to take off this completely, this little bolt down there completely. So that bolt, both of the bolts has to come out completely. And all we want right now is this belt off. So we got enough slack here to take off this belt, and maybe a little bit more. There you go. That should be good enough for this belt to come off. I did recommend a new belt to the customer, but the customer refused. So what I want to do is, we do need to take off this 12 millimeter down here completely. So let's get that baby off. Okay, sometimes just putting a socket on. Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave this on. We'll take off the bottom one first because this will hold everything in place for us while that one is coming off. So what I want to do is, I do want to just take the 12 millimeter and I do want to put this baby back together so it just holds in place. Now let's go into the bottom. So just by hand, I should be able to just turn that. If you can't turn it by hand, just use your ratchet. Sometimes it's stiff. If your car looks crusty and rusty, it's gonna take you a little bit longer because of that rust will make things a little difficult for you. Sorry about the light. So I had my light just sitting here, but it is kind of stiff. When you put this baby back in, put some WD-40 on it, it will be a little bit smoother for you. So it is turning. Turn, turn, turn. Like I said, if you remove that first before you take off this top one, it will be easier because this is gonna hold all the load for you. If you take off the top one first, it's gonna alternate, all the weight's gonna be on the bottom bolt. Anyways, I'm gonna get this bolt off. Look how much I got it out already, and a little bit more left. Okay, so I move this alternator around, loosen this up. Sometimes moving the alternator back and forth will release your bottom bolt. So here comes nothing, and there's the bottom bolt. Now you know what we're gonna do next is we're gonna take off this 10 millimeter. So I'm gonna use this gear wrench here. So you cannot touch this anywhere in the metal. So I cannot go across and hit this. Okay, small little turn, and this is a 12. I don't know why I want to get 12. Okay, so the 12 was for that. Anyways, let's turn this baby. And if you want to come a little bit more forward, come a little bit more forward. Like I said, you cannot touch the other end. You will go by mistake. So use both of your hands to prevent that, okay? A little bit more turns, then I'm gonna go get some tape. Let me go get some tape now. So, okay, so what I wanna do is take off this 10 millimeter bolt. So this comes off, this is live power. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wrap this up with tape or some type of material that's gonna cover this from letting it touch anywhere. Okay, I forgot to mention one thing. We're gonna take off this bracket completely. It has a 12 millimeter here. But prior to that, I put a glove around this harness here instead of a tape. You could do that. So this little guy right here, either you could take off that bolt there or just pull back on this tab and this guy will come off, or take off that. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have to use both of my hands to get to the bottom of that. Okay, so I'm using this pick here. You shouldn't have to because it's just my finger. I had broken fingers, so it's hurting me. So this is the little tab you need to pull. So I'm gonna mention this guy. You really shouldn't have to use tools here. And then a flathead screwdriver or something like this, pry that I'm using here will help you out. But now the harness should be nice and free, and it should not touch anywhere. Like I said, you can even stick it here, and we're gonna leave it right there. It's all plastic here, long as it don't touch the frame or anything like that. So, okay, let's push this ground out of the way. It's not gonna bother us. But this 12 millimeter gotta go because remember, this gotta come off so the whole alternator could come up, and that is the way. So we're gonna just remove this little guy completely, and we're gonna take off this bolt. You can even use this as a handle. That's what I might just do. Let's put this baby in. I'm gonna use this as a handle, and we'll just transfer this on to the new alternator. Okay, this baby comes out. So now your alternator, you're gonna have to wiggle this guy because in the bottom there's you know what we're gonna do here? I need more clearance, so I want to just take this guy off completely because we're gonna have to do it anyway to put on the new alternator. Let's take this off. And this baby, I'm sorry about the long video, but I do want to give you guys all the details and give you guys the complete run through, walk through of this tutorial here. So here comes nothing. This bolt is kind of long. Just don't mix up your nuts and bolts. Just keep everything together. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this right next to this alternator. Okay, so in the bottom, we got this jammed on, okay? So sometimes taking a pry bar would be a good help, and that's what we're gonna do. A small little pry bar. So I went and got a pry bar. So all we need to do here is we need to yank the alternator from the back because it's like perfectly meshed in there. So it might be a small little task here for us to complete here. There's no way, and you don't want to push it too hard and break the radiator. Or another thing I want to mention a few things is don't put your weight here, don't put your weight here, don't put your weight here, don't put your weight on any of these, especially in the radiator. You will break it because these are all old components. They will eventually break. So sometimes just going back and forth, okay, like that would help you get this alternator out. But okay, be careful with the AC lines, be careful with the harness on the AC here. And what I want to do here is, it is going to be a little hard, difficult to get this baby out of here, especially with the spacing from up here. Okay, even from the bottom, it will be the same procedure. Okay, you see how I'm hitting over here? You don't want that. We don't want that. Okay, so we're going to push this alternator back. We're going to try one more time. And if you got a slide hammer, you would put a slide hammer here, bang, bang, but you don't want to break the intake either. So going back and forth on this baby will be ideal. And let's see how this job goes. So what I'm going to do is, I already gave you guys an idea how to do it. So I can now hold my camera and work on it because I do need to hold here. Sometimes going back and forth, but you have to have a force facing upward. That would help you. And this alternator, I think I'm getting it. It's pretty free now, but I'm gonna get it out. Once it's out, I'll show you. Okay, I've been on it for like 5-6 minutes and I can't get it out. So what I learned was a small little trick. Right now I just learned it. So grab this little guy and just pull this way. Okay, there's a reason for doing that. And the reason why that is because the alternator has this little guy. Okay, alternator has this little guy that needs to be compressed back, and it will make a more clearance for you right here. Okay, tiny bit. On the new one, you could put a bolt here and bang on it and it will go back, and that'd be the easier way. But putting it back is much easier than taking it out. Okay, so we got that little guy down there. Where's my light? He's down there. So just by yanking on it like that, it's gonna probably decompress it, uncompress it. So what I want to do is put my camera right here. Hopefully I can get a little bit of an angle here. And I'm going to record this part. I think it's critical that I do record this part. So I'm just putting my hands on it. And since we already did a little bit pulling on it, this guy should, even going back and forth on this little guy. Back and forth. You're not going to damage anything. Don't worry about it. Back and forth. That will just compress that little guy. You're not gonna break nothing unless you go crazy hard, and just be careful with the intake. Okay, yeah. Give it another attempt with my camera sitting right here. See if it comes out. Okay, it's hitting the intake now, and we don't want that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the bottom of it. Taking so many alternators out, and this guy is giving me trouble. Don't pinch your fingers, okay? That's one thing I'm gonna tell you, it will hurt. There you go. Got the alternator out. Just by wiggle, waggle, waggle. Wiggle, waggle, waggle. Got this guy out of here. And then it will simply just come up. Okay, that's how simple that is. Bada bing, bada boom, we got the alternator out. Okay, so I had all this stuff here, crazy stuff here. I was talking about filing a paint of this, and what you do want to do is you want to get a file. Where's my file? So the file. So what you want to do is you want to clean the paint. Okay, these new alternators, they will be painted. Clean the surface because it's not gonna give you a good ground. So I'm gonna do that. So make sure you clean it really well. You don't want to have a bad ground and then still feel like your new alternator is bad. So I want to take this guy off. I cannot do it with the camera in my hand, but let me see if I could just smack it. There you go. I won't let it smack, and the thing moved. And you see it was in that angle, so we're gonna do the same thing, same angle. We're gonna get this baby off and put it onto the new one, which is sitting right there. So we're gonna take this little guy, put it onto this little guy. It's a 10 millimeter. Okay, I destroyed the whole thing. Lost track. Okay. So this guy goes in there. This is where the harness. Remember the harness we took off? The little pick we used. It was right there. That's where that connects to. So let's tighten this up. A small little impact. Bada bing, bada boom. We'll leave this bolt on. We'll take it off there. Oh, you know what? We're just loosening it up for now. So what we're going to do next is, remember this is what was giving us a hard time to take it off. So we're going to bang this a bit. Okay, so what I want to do here is I'm going to put this old bolt. This is the same bolt that came off this alternator. Try to catch about good 4 or 5 threads or 6 threads. Put your feet on it. You don't want this thing sitting on the ground properly, hitting, and all you want to do is you want to tap this, okay? Just enough so this is flush, so our alternator could go in really, really easy. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this alternator right now, just like this. We're going to grab it. We're not even going to pause the video, and we're going to just push this baby in. I'm going to have to switch hands, so be careful with where you put it. You don't want nothing damaged. We want to get this end in, and this alternator should simply just sit down there. Should be really easy. So if you work on the top first, the bottom one will be easy for us to guide, okay? Because sometimes that bolt, okay, you know what? Let's try to get that bolt in right now. So let's take this bolt. You never know how good of a luck we have. And I don't call that a luck. There it goes. There's all of it on there. Sometimes things sit so perfectly. Okay, and we might get it on the first shot. And there you go. We got it on the first shot. Okay, you might have to move the alternator around to catch the threads. Make sure you do catch the threads. If you try to pull it, it should not come out, and then you should be able to tighten it. You want to do that first so the top one can just align simply. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take this baby. Let's move this way. It's going to be all over right now. So I don't know how that's going to work for me. Okay, under both hands right now. Okay. All right, so simply I'm sure you guys are able to get this. So get this bolt there and then get this bolt here, and then I will show you. Okay, so I got this bolt here, so everything is still loose. What I want to do is I'm going to get that bolt all the way in, and then we're gonna just snug it, so but we still able to move the alternator, so leave like 3 threads out. And same thing here, like I got this all the way, it's just like 1 or 2 threads out. So let me do that first. Okay, so I got my bolt all the way, and what I want to do here is before we make any mess, let's connect this harness here so we don't make any short circuit there. Let's remove this little guy, and slowly let's take this off. Let's get this out of there. And what you want to do is just want to simply put this in and make sure it sits flush, just like that. Put this 10 millimeter on it. I'm going to tighten that in a little bit. Let's push this connector in, and at the same time we can push this harness down here. And as you can see, my alternator is still loose. I do want to get this bolt in a little bit more. So it'd be a good idea to replace your belt when you have all this loose, so everything is good. So one thing I do want to do is I want to lock up this bolt here, because I don't want this bolt causing any trouble later on that we forget, because the rest of the stuff is done as we adjust it. So anyway, now get yourself a new belt if that's what you want to do, but I did recommend it to this customer, but he refused. So what we want to do is we want to bring the belt up. Make sure you have a good routing of that belt. So the belt came off from the bottom. So what I want to do is, you can see everything from up here. You can replace your belt from up here. So alternator and belt, something that you can do simply from up here. There you go. And What happened here was it came off the water pump. Now let's get it onto the water pump, and then it goes on to the alternator. Just make sure the belt is good everywhere, the AC compressor, the crank, water pump, and doesn't look good over there. So I'm gonna just use my wrench to just push it on here, because the belt didn't look good on the crank. There you go, it's perfect. Good, it's good on the compressor and everything. So now the key here, if you're using the old belt and if there was no issue, no squeaks, you would go back to the same spot. Okay, you don't want to over tighten the belt. You don't want to damage anything, because over tightening it can cause failure of the water pump or the bearings on the AC compressor, because it's too much force, too much load. So what I want to do here is, and you don't want to leave the belt loose either. So when you do put a new belt in, sometimes that belt stretches because the new one, it has softness to it. So if you're not going back to the same spot, you might have to adjust it once at least. Anyways, this baby is gonna come out good, and after that we will test the alternator. And I am going to be changing the battery on this, because anytime I see a battery old, that battery here is from 2014 right there, 2014. Okay, and we're in 2022. Whew. And usually the batteries are good for 3 to 4 years max. So to determine the tightness of this belt, it all depends on your experience, knowledge, and understanding the tension on the belt. So sometimes you could just see right now the belt is way too loose, because I am able to just push this belt down. I'll do a separate video on this. I'm gonna go more. We still got a little bit more to go till it goes back to our original spot. Right now it's 2 threads past the original belt. We took it off. That feels good to me. So 1 letter turn, because sometimes it is different. And what I want to do here is I'm going to lock up both of the bolts next, and do not forget to lock up this bolt. So let me grab my 10mm. I'm going to do whatever I can as we go. So again, you still cannot let it touch here, okay, from there to here. That will give you a spark. You will blow the alternator fuse. So that's something you're going to have to look into. Just hand tight. Everything I'm doing here is hand tight. That baby's tight, not loose. We're simply going to take this cover. You know what? We're going to leave this cover over, because we're going to check the power on this alternator. We'll put that last in. So what we're going to do is we're going to lock up this 12. Okay, we're going to go clockwise. I'm going to switch sides. Okay. And I'm going to lock up this just by hand. That feels good. 1 more turn. There you go. I'm going to leave it there. And then I'm going to do the same thing for that bottom bolt. And the job has been completed without taking off the connection on the battery. You see what I did here? I hit over here, so be careful with that as well. You don't want it. So you're going to feel like something is sliding on the bottom bolt. Remember that little thing that we pushed back by putting the bolt on and hammer it? That's going to compress back, and you're going to hear a noise like cluck, cluck noise, like that. There you go. It's moving. It's compressing itself. And there you go. We're locked in. And we'll talk about the tools before we end the video. And that's it. And then we'll complete everything else. Let's put the cover on, and then we'll check the voltage. So to finish out this job, what we're going to do is we're going to put this on. And next, I'm going to change the battery on this vehicle. And you will see a separate video for that. So pretty much what you want to do is the little things we sprayed, the little grommets, these little guys. Each one sit on this. There's one back here, right here, and there's one here and one here. So there's 4 of them. So all you gotta do is align them. Another key thing is align your holes here, and everything should be about right where it's supposed to be at. And just push down on it, and easy to go. So I'm gonna change this battery, which is gonna be 12 volts, and then our alternator output should be 13 and above. It could be 1320, 1340, it could be anything. Anyways, let's do the job on this. So that job is done. We're still gonna test the alternator voltage. We do need to test the alternator voltage after that. As long as your battery light in the dash goes away, that's confirmed. If you do have a voltmeter, do what I'm about to do. If you don't have a voltmeter, as long as that light is gone, you're good to go. Okay, tools. let's talk tools. We got a voltmeter here. You really don't need this voltmeter to use to change the alternator. Like I said, if the battery light goes away, it's good. It confirms itself. So we use the file. If you don't have a file, you can use any type of brush. We got this long ratchet here, 3/8 drive with 14 millimeter. We got a short ratchet. You really can do with one ratchet. I like to use two because I was using one. 12 millimeter, same size, 3/8 drive. Pry bar, I really didn't use. Pick, you really don't need. The little fork that I had, you really don't need. So pretty much this is all the 12 millimeter, 10 millimeter. These tools you're gonna need. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the socket there. Okay, and if you got these extras, you really don't need the pry bar. You really don't need the pick. Just my finger couldn't do it. So this is everything. Okay, that's it. So now what we're gonna do is we did change the battery. Let's just confirm. So this is gonna be same on the new video for before and after. Make sure you do check your alternator fuse. The alternator does have fuses. So if those go bad, I have done that before. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this on negative and we're gonna put this on my positive. We should get 12 point something. Perfect. Okay, we're gonna have the same amount of power here. Let me just do this. We're gonna put this here and we're gonna ground it. 12 point something. This is the same exact power. Remember, this is live. And now we're gonna start up the car and we should rise up to 13.50, 13.30. It could be any number above 13. So we're gonna start up the car and the car should not stall because we never lost memory. We never disconnected the battery. Even for changing the battery, we gave it a power. Anyways, let's check here. It should be, come on. It should be 14 and 13 and above. And our battery light should be off. There you are, 14, perfect. Look at that. We connect the positive and negative here. That's it. Long as it's above 13, we're good. We're gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna put it on the positive on the cable there, and we're gonna ground it to the alternator. 1432, perfect. All right, so that's all the power you need. And our light in the dash should not longer be on, okay? The battery light is gone, as you guys can see right there. And we got tire light here. He has bad sensors. Anyways, thank you for watching my video. Stay tuned for more videos. Thank you again. And don't forget to subscribe, share, and like. Bye-bye. Okay, I forgot one thing. There's a 14 millimeter also, okay? 14 millimeter. That's the wrench. And then what we're going to do is we're going to close up this video just by putting this stuff. This guy just goes in. And you just snap it right in. Perfect. Let's put this on the battery and this car is ready to go on its way.